shaping up to be a foggy one today in Palm Beach County. And with a busy Christmas season around the corner, Santa Claus decided to start delivering presents early this year with the help of both the U.S. Sugar Railroad and the Florida East Coast Railway. And with some breakfast and coffee, I was good to go for a busy day of rail fanning to get into the holiday spirit. No sooner did I arrive at Northwest Avenue L in Belle Glade than a raised letter K5LA horn began to pierce through the fog, which wasn't getting any better. But despite the poor visibility, I could see that the annual U.S. Sugar Toys For Tots Santa train was about to arrive. There, at the head of the Santa train, was the crown jewel of the Sugar Express, U.S. Sugar steam locomotive number 148, gliding gingerly through the endless curtain of mist. And soon, the locomotive all but faded into the fog, like a ghost from times past. I ventured closer to the siding on Northwest 12th Street, where the U.S. Sugar Santa train normally stops to unload the presents, and at around 7:45 a.m., the Santa train began to pull forward into the siding. Even being swallowed by the thick fog, the 148 still put on a show by announcing its presence in a way that only a steam locomotive could. Just as the 148's silhouette emerged from the fog, the train stopped all too far away. Thinking the train was about to inch closer, I was puzzled to see the passenger cars start moving into another siding without the 148. And then it hit me. The train was too long for the usual siding this year, so the diesel locomotive had to back the cars onto a different siding closer to the main line just to fit. The Santa train finally stopped just before 8 a.m., and I took this opportunity to take a closer look at the 148 and USSC number 312, an EMD GP11 locomotive built for the Illinois Central Railroad in 1957. As with every year, U.S. Sugar Engine 148's tender carried the lettering for the Santa Express and a sticker for Toys For Tots. The 148 had also been carrying the whistle from Norfolk and Western number 611 for quite some time now. A plaque for the Santa Express was bolted to the front of the locomotive, and a giant wreath hung from the smoke box door. Meanwhile, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, the elves, and the U.S. Marines wasted no time delivering toys to the children and families of Belle Glade. Luckily, Santa Claus had enough time to take personal gift requests and sing songs to the children, and the U.S. Marines were busy loading the rest of the gifts into the trucks for all the children who couldn't make it today. Thinking about how many kids could use a little extra Christmas magic, I decided to do something small this year that I hope makes a difference. I gave Santa my own gift, this battery-operated radio-controlled Lamborghini, to brighten up another child's Christmas. I hope the recipient in Clewiston likes it. As the 148's crew serviced the locomotive, I had to start thinking about the FEC version of the Toys For Tots Santa train. The arrival time for the FEC Santa train in West Palm Beach was 9 a.m., the same time the US Sugar train was due to leave Belle Glade, so I didn't have much time. Speaking of FEC, I decided to take one look at this historical Florida East Coast Railway depot at Northwest Avenue L just before the train left. And by the time I got back to the spot, the train had already begun to move. Now let's chase US Sugar number 148 with the Toys For Tots Santa train from Belle Glade to Clewiston. After the Santa train arrived in Clewiston, I couldn't help but notice a couple of surprises scattered around the U.S. Sugar Railroad's North End shops. Just outside the shops, two EMD 6-axle locomotives sat. USSC number 6324, an EMD SD40 T-2 tunnel motor locomotive, is a fairly recent addition to the U.S. Sugar roster. But 6327, an EMD SD40-2 locomotive, was the latest thing on U.S. Sugar's rails. This locomotive was wearing a red and silver paint scheme from the Terminal Railroad Association based in St. Louis, Missouri. Some locomotives were still painted in U.S. Sugar's yellow and gray scheme, but I found at least one unit in U.S. Sugar's brand new bright green and yellow. There was a good turnout with lots of kids and families at Clewiston today, and Santa Claus still had his work cut out for him as the train would continue north all the way up to Sebring. It was now after 10 a.m. and I was surprised to see how late it was, and the FEC Christmas train was about to leave West Palm Beach soon. So I took some final pictures of the 148 and made a beeline for Stuart, Florida. I arrived in Stuart at around 11:40 a.m. and by some miracle I had made it just in time for a northbound Brightline train. After several minutes of waiting, I had to face the reality that the FEC Santa train had beaten me to Stuart. If I wanted to see it now, there was only one thing to do. I ventured up to Fort Pierce, where the FEC Santa train was sitting there waiting at Orange Avenue. It wasn't the spot I had in mind, but at least I got a nice view of the train at this stop. I parked near Avenue A where I could get a closer look at the consist and the power of the Santa train. Leading the Santa train today was FEC number 431, an EMD GP40-2 locomotive built in 1984. The horn on this unit is an anomaly of sorts, with a Leslie 5-chime manifold with blanking plates and bells 25, 31, and 44 to make an RS3L. Trailing was FEC 421, another EMD GP40-2 locomotive built in 1979, with both wearing FEC's newest navy blue paint scheme. The train was carrying 2 shipping containers on flat cars carrying the presents for the children and families, sporting the Toys For Tots banners. As the Santa train prepared to depart Fort Pierce, an FEC yard job switching double-stack cars began to pull forward towards Orange Avenue. Switching the train was FEC engine 434, an EMD GP40-2 locomotive in FEC's retro blue paint. This unit was the last GP40-2 locomotive built for the Florida East Coast Railway, and also the final GP40-2 produced by EMD in 1986. At around 1:10 p.m., the FEC Santa train began to depart Fort Pierce, headed for Jacksonville. The RS3L horn on 431 had a deeper tone than most. after the FEC Santa train cleared Avenue A, my Christmas train journey today had come to an end, and I was ready to commence my yearly Christmas shopping. I'd like to thank US Sugar, Sugar Express, FMW Solutions, Toys For Tots, and the US Marines for spreading Christmas joy all across Florida. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and may all your days be merry and bright. This is Casual Railfan, and I will see you in the next one.